Check. 1 2 1 2. Vader Games in the building. All right. First things first, my people come first. My people that are here, no longer here, thought of, remembered. We got another episode. It's gonna be a weird one. Let me turn this music off. What am I doing? Let me make sure that this is all done right. All right. Today's show. 115. One question, 15 minutes. I'm going to start the clock very shortly, but what I'm going to be discussing today is right here. All right. And it's just something I need to get off my chest. Not so much of a convo, but just hear me out. Hear me out. And again, Manchester City fans, use this information. I think take confidence with what I think is going to be said. And also just recognize, don't get pulled in, don't get dragged into the silly City don't have pull, City aren't a destination for players. Listen, all that's BS, and I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it down on why players aren't held hostage at Manchester City. So we got one question, 15 minutes, 115. Let me get the clock going. Let me start that, and we're going to get into it. And as always, this is going to be I'm going to be more consistent with this. I'm going to be more consistent with what I do with regards to these shows. And I'm also going to have to speak on later in the show. Later in the show, I'm going to speak on some of the other transfer rumors that are happening with the rivals. I'm also going to have to speak on what our season looks like. Obviously, with what I discussed the last 2 days with Julian Alvarez. We're going to have to get into it because it's going to be a tough season. It's going to be a tough season. Now, let me get the clock going. Here we go. All right. I got questions that I'm going to be tackling throughout the season. All right. These right here are going to be part of the mix. Which one comes up next? Not too sure. The way the wind is blowing, a lot want me to discuss. They want me to discuss why City are facing their toughest title defense. So we'll kind of get into that. But right now, we're going to deal with that question, why players aren't held hostage, which is today's question. All right, and the clock's going. So let me do this. I'm going to take everything back to new ownership when we had an influx in the ability to spend. All right. And we got a lot of criticism early with regards to Sheikh Mansour and his ownership with regards to how we got players, how we got ourselves to be competitive again. But we all know that as a result of that, you had FFP come into the mix. You had the Red Cartel trying to put things in place so that no one could come in and be a challenger like Chelsea was, right? Chelsea, new ownership spend, able to be impactful, able to take away trophies that Arsenal, United, and, well, Liverpool wanted. When you put FFP in place, you got to then adapt. You have to then course correct. All right. And you hear my North American accent. So I'm going to tell you this. There was a time back in the day before or when dunking went from being allowed to no longer being allowed. Right. In the college, you could not dunk anymore. You know, probably the greatest for some should be the GOAT. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was not able to dunk. He had to reinvent himself. He came up with the sky hook. All right. He had to do something different. FFP forced Manchester City to have to adapt, to have to replan things because they weren't able to do what a Chelsea did and just splash the cash and go wild. So the adaptation was to adjust, to be smart. And the academy was a huge part of that. The youth academy was a huge part of that. The transfer window in terms of what would be spent and what would be turned away, too pricey. All that came into mix because they had to be sound, right? Now, the reason why players aren't held hostage is because when you, as an inspiring young player, or you, as a established pro, are looking to make your mark or looking to extend your career or build your career, going to Manchester City makes a lot of sense because you know that you're not going to be held under the club, under the contract regardless of what makes sense for that player. So now, long term, think of the academy players, think of players that choose to come to City, think of even more recently with regards to this whole conversation, Julian Alvarez coming to Manchester City and taking a chance on betting on yourself to develop. You come to Manchester City and you know if it works out positive or negative, and I want to move on, the club is going to hold me back. The club and the ownership, the leadership aren't going to do a Daniel Levy. They're not going to keep a Harry Kane, regardless of a ridiculous bids that are out there to pull him away and force him when he was showing that he wanted to leave. We aren't doing that. Manchester City don't do that. And it makes it a very, very good destination for young players as well as established players to know that business model makes absolute sense. And the reason why it makes absolute sense is because a player can have confidence coming over here. And a player can also know that if they have other aspirations that don't happen to be in England, and the only reason why La Liga continue to flourish, not the only reason, let me step back. All right. Sorry. I didn't mean to say the only reason, but one of the key reasons why many players have La Liga as that destination is because, listen, global warming hasn't hit yet. Global warming hasn't impacted things yet where London have that tropical or that nice weather like Spain. When that happens, that pull, it's over. It's over. But until then, you've got to understand that players obviously that don't quite have a tie um, to England like that are going to want to move on, especially from a language standpoint. But why players aren't held hostage makes a lot of sense because whatever is going to be done, it's going to be done right for the business. It's going to be done right for the business model. Manchester City saying, if your head's turned, that is not a problem. It's not a problem. You're free to go, but you're free to go at the evaluation that we have you at. Keeping everything on level, everything on board, everything universal. A player coming in knows exactly what is expected of them. An agent dealing with Manchester City knows exactly what's expected. If you want that player out, go out and get the deal that's right for the evaluation. And I can't fault that. And I actually think it makes a lot of sense, especially now with the academy kids and the adaptation that I talked about. Look at some of the legends, the sons of legends choosing to send their offspring to Manchester City for that coaching, for that development. And also knowing that, you know what, if my kid happens to show that they're nice like that, they're gonna be able to go on to other things. Look at Jadon Sancho, right? There's a amazing list of players that have come through the academy. And again, you know that you're gonna advance on. You're not gonna be hoarded. Your career is not gonna be stifled because we're not gonna allow you to grow. And then also players that happen to come here and for whatever reason it doesn't work out, for whatever reason they want to go somewhere else, let them go. Let them go. It's not a matter of not having pull. It's not a matter of not having or having issues at Manchester City why some of these players choose to go. Some of these players are choosing to go mainly because of financial. Because if it really came down to anything with regards to trophies, there's nowhere else to go. If you're gonna leave Manchester City and it's with aspirations of trophies, you're going to two other clubs. You're going to Real Madrid or you're going to Bayern. That's really it. That's really it if you're leaving with regards to trophies. Now, in the case of Julian Alvarez, which I find it easy to accept when I think of it from a player standpoint. I absolutely find it difficult to accept when I think of it from a Manchester City standpoint because I really like his quality. I really like Julian Alvarez's quality. Um, I have to say, all the best to you, but trust in the fact that we're going to get something else to work. And when I say trust in the fact that we're going to get something else to work, it's because of the manager, it's because of the board. But I actually hate that we have to right now, as the window's still open. Yeah, relax, relax. Right now, I hate that we're going to have to rely on Pep doing a madness. I hate that. Actually, I didn't even turn my light on. I hate that it's not a matter of having every weapon available. I hate that it's going to be some guerrilla warfare where Pep's going to have to make weapons out of bamboo sticks. He's going to have to make weapons out of. He's going to have to make traps in the floor. Like he's going to have to come up with. He's going to have to be creative because he's not going to have everything there at his disposal. And I'm so. The more I talk, the more I realize I'm being really greedy. But I'm being really greedy because there's only so much time we have with this squad and with this group of players. When Pep had everything, or close to everything, he had a striker, he had a backup striker. He had Grealish, Foden, KDB, Gundogan, Mahrez. And then when we look at Rodri, we look at Akanji, we look at Ake, we could look at Kyle Walker, John Stones, Ruben Diaz, Ederson, backup keeper in Ortega, Rico Lewis, young talent. Look at what we were able to do. Not holding players hostage makes absolute sense. And it will continue to make Manchester City a destination for young talent as well as um, players that are looking for success while with Pep and post Pep. And we're always going to say bye to the player. No player is ever going to be bigger than the club. None. And I was reminded, and I didn't need reminding. I knew of the greats that have left us. So saying bye to some of the greats that have left us, we get it. Yeah, we've been fine. Things have been good. We've still continued to win. But I have to ask the question because I don't know the answer, and I'd like to see maybe the answer within the comments. What do you do to maintain a club that can potentially win all 4 trophies? What do you do? What's required from a player standpoint to go after all possible trophies within a season? In England, all right? What do you have to do? That's the question I'm going to leave. That's the question I'm going to leave here today. What do you need top to bottom, squad, starting 11, backup? I'm just going to ask the question. What do you need to be able to go after every trophy? And if someone wants to say you shouldn't aspire to go after every trophy, why? Why? If you're going to tell me I shouldn't be disappointed not getting every trophy, of course I get that. 100% I get that. I shouldn't be disappointed not getting 100 on an exam. I get that. But should be putting in the work to potentially get that 100 on that exam. I want to ask. I want the answer. What's the squad? What's the squad needed to go after every trophy? And that's where I think some City fans are at with regards to wanting to continue to aspire for more or reach for more. I think Julian Alvarez should have been let go at that evaluation or more, and I'm really happy with that evaluation and that transfer deal, record deal. And this is another thing. I'm gonna do my homework. I'm gonna do my homework as I pose this question. Has a defending title winner ever let a player go for a club record sale? Has a has has a title defender ever let someone of that value, that high value, go before? And that's where it comes down to the whole philosophy. We're gonna make it work, even with letting such a great player go. And we're gonna be at a disadvantage, slightly weaker, but we're gonna make it work. My guy in the building, every time I shout out the very first to show love, show support, coming to the channel, being part of the views, hitting me up with a comment. I gotta show love to my man, Blue Heart. Hi Vader, feel for you, buddy. Where is everyone? Man, I don't know. I don't know. He goes, as for what is required, it has to be consistency for me. I know the consistency needs to be there throughout every possible match as best as possible, and we're gonna get highs and lows with regards to players and their performances. We're gonna get highs and lows in terms of players and their availability with regards to injury. Let me put on the clock with regards to comments. But we can only be consistent if the players are available. And we know, just based off of the length of the season, based off of how things are going to get congested, that we're going to have to rely on some players to go after all 4 trophies. And that should be something not necessarily set as a not done, this is a failure. But I can assure you, no player, no manager wants to lose. So what do we do? What will we have to do as a club, as a fan base, to inspire and encourage a club to go after all of them? Let's even remember the season. I hate remembering the season, but the season when we were on our way to a quad. We were the season we happened to lose Champions League to Chelsea. Go back and remember, guys. We are actually making moves for a possible quad. Now, I think that got messed up because with Leicester. That got messed up because of Chelsea. But look at the squad. Look at the experience. I'm gonna say that it's. I'm gonna say that we're not doing ourselves any favors losing the quality. We lose the quality at the right evaluation, so we'll see how we reinvest it. But this season is going to be a Pep. As it stands right now, I could be wrong. Transfer window's not closed. But like Blue Heart said, consistency. And I think the consistency is going to come from Pep doing another MacGyver. We don't go out and get another signing. It's going to be Pep doing another MacGyver. Let me mess around and put Fabian Delph over at left back, like that type of thing, right? Let me see what I can do with potentially O'Reilly, and I'm very impressed with him. But let me see what I can do with an O'Reilly if I don't go out and get a go out and get coverage for Rodri. Let's see what I do with regards to Oscar Bob putting in a shifted striker if I don't go out and get a replacement for Julian Alvarez. Blue Heart goes, Julian has made his choice, and as you say, all the best to him for his future. Yeah, he's made his choice. Career-wise, absolute makes perfect sense. I think it's going to be so poetic, Blue Heart. Can you picture us seeing Atletico Madrid in Champions League? I can. For some reason, we're going to cross paths. It seems to happen every time. There's that unavoidable soap opera type. It's going to happen. Yo, Ed in the building. Yo, big up my guy. Blue Heart. As for City, we just need to keep rolling without those that did good jobs for the club. I feel for all those that had Alvarez on the back of their ooh, yeah. Everybody that had Alvarez on the back of the shirt, 2 seasons and he's out. It's a tough one, man. He came in with Holland. I've been asked this a lot. Like, would I want Eze? I would, but the question is, would. And what I like as much I love the fact that we don't keep players hostage. I also love the fact that it's about competition. You come to Manchester City, I don't care who you are. You're going to have to prove yourself in practice for Pep to choose you, right? And that's another reason why Julian Alvarez was sent, or the deal for him to go was accepted as well, because for what Pep was seeing in practice, he was always reverting to Erling Haaland. So I love the competition. I don't know if Eze wants that though. I don't know if Eze wants that competition. Maybe he would, because he's like, you know what? KDB's probably got 1, maybe 2 more years. But then is Eze looking at, okay, it's going to be me, Foden, and Rodri? Or is he thinking he's not going to be able to hold that down because potentially Grealish moves centrally, or maybe Bernardo Silva remains here a little longer? I don't know. But if Eze's coming, any player coming to our club, they got to be ready to compete. And that's the biggest question. That's why Declan Rice didn't come here. Because look, it is clear. It is evident. There is no debate about it. Declan Rice cannot hold a candle to Rodri. So he's not making it here. And we've seen his quality in Euros. We've seen his quality even at Arsenal. Like, he needs to be handheld. He needs to be handheld. And that's not our midfield. That is not our midfield. So, I don't know, man. La Ciel Bleu, my man. What it do? Good to see you. Good to see you. Blue Heart. I come from a time when we used to win very little to nothing. Yo, Blue Heart, no difference. No difference. I hear you. So all we have now is one big bonus. The sun is shining right now. I'm just enjoying the sun. The sun is shining right now. What I'm asking for us is, let's go and have that picnic. Let's go out and throw that frisbee around. Let's go out and just get sun-kissed. You know what I mean? Let's just enjoy. So all of it is bonus. When I even share the Aguero moment with my daughter, and she's like, so that was the first time Manchester City won the Prem, Daddy? And I was like, yeah, that was the first time. First time they won the Prem, and they didn't win it. They had to win it on goal differential. Like, just explaining that to her, she's like, so they didn't have more points than the other team, but because they scored more goals, or they scored more and didn't concede more, that's why they had the advantage. That's why they won the league. And I was like, yeah. And then she's like, oh, that's really, really close. I'm like, yeah. So going from that to what we've just witnessed, obviously with the arrival of Pep, and most recently with the trouble and the fact that we won a 4-peat, yeah, Blue Heart, it is all bonus. It is all bonus. It's nailed on, Vader. Atletico in the latter stages for the. I know, Blue Heart. I know it's happening. It's happening. So again, if you By that time, people, you know the cadence with regards to my shows and what I'll be discussing. But believe me, leading into that, oh man, the stress is gonna be there because Atletico wasn't easy. They weren't easy without Julian Alvarez. They weren't easy without him. Um, Erling and Alvarez to get hat tricks in that matchup. I think it might be one of those like, yeah, like that striker comparison, that head to head battle. Um, I can already see a portion of the fan base talking about regretting selling Julian Alvarez to Atletico and all that kind of stuff. I'm actually, in terms of dealings, right? The 4D chess of thinking beyond. I like that Julian's going to Atletico. We know Atletico defensively they do their thing. Simeone's got them set up. But if Girona, if Atletico Madrid can chip away at points from Real Madrid, make life in La Liga really, really difficult. So when it comes down to Champions League, they can't just rest their players like they've been doing and just focus on Champions League. I'm all for that. So the fact that Julian Alvarez is over there as another weapon to be that annoying that annoyance, maybe challenging for the league against Real Madrid would be absolutely amazing. La Ciebla goes, City won't buy players from Palace due to their alignment with red gangs against clubs. I don't know. As you say that, La Ciebla, I don't know what the financials are for Crystal Palace. So if they're if they're in need, I think a deal can be made. If you think about it that way. I know alliances and stuff, but it's a matter of where can they get the most for that player because they're going to need that reinvestment into the club. Blue Heart, I'm doing all those things and just wishing we don't have to kiss the good times goodbye. Yeah, man. Yeah. Speaking of that, I after this show, I got about 4 more minutes. After this show, I am going to be heading down to my local football store. I'm going to see the jerseys that they got in. Um they should have the away and they should have the third kit. So I'm gonna make sure I check that out. Edison in the building, AC Milan fan. Hope you're doing well. Did you catch any games, Edison? Let me know. Let me know if you caught any games. Sorry to beat you guys in the friendly. Oh, this guy. This guy. Milan won the friendly cup. Yes, they did. They did. This guy. This guy. Listen, let me know if you're getting EAFC for this upcoming season because I'm gonna be a lot more regular with regards to my gaming. Um, La Ciebla goes good point. Well shared. Edison caught the Barca game. Nice, nice. Now, I don't want Manchester City to change the philosophy. I think we've avoided a lot of heartbreak. I think we've avoided a lot of players that would have been a cancer, would have been a virus, would have been poisonous to us. Right? Look at the fact that we turned or the deal didn't go through with Alexis Sanchez. As soon as Alexis Sanchez and his agent and they were like trying to pit two deals against each other, we're like, nah, I don't like this lack of loyalty or this lack of commitment or gentleman conversation with regards to negotiations. See ya. When we realized that Harry Maguire had his head turned as well and he's looking at a Manchester United deal, okay, see ya. Good. Same thing happened with regards to Fred. Okay, yeah, your head's turned. Bye. So when it comes to player agency representation, their character, I like how we have this. We're not forcing anything. We're not going to force you to stay. We're not going to force you to try and come here. It is what it is because I think it keeps everything cohesive. It keeps everything well balanced. My hope is that when we have any player that expresses that they want to leave, And I think this is now going to be universal because of how mainstream this is. If a player wants out, if an agent wants something different for their player, go out, negotiate the deal, have it at the evaluation, and then come back to us. It keeps everything nice and clean. It keeps us being able to comfortably say, as City fans, bye. Thank you so very much for your service. Thank you for being a warrior for us. Now, bye. What the club chooses to do with the funds that have now been acquired, record sale for Manchester City, 95 mil record sale. We'll see on that one. We'll see on Blue Heart goes, Edison, don't say sorry. You did what you had to do. That's football. Edison knows what he was doing, man. Trying to be a little cheeky about winning the friendly. I thought it was a good game as well. Edison, we'll talk offline because I'm curious to hear what you think of AC this year. Because who is going to are you going to do anything against Inter this year? Is it automatic that Inter are going to win it back to back? Let me know what you think. Edison, are you just tuning in for the first time? Yes, see, they're getting worse. We're getting worse when we lost the quality in terms of Julian Alvarez. Yes, we're getting worse because a player in terms of backup, the third, fourth most minutes coverage for Holland, coverage for KDB is gone. We're worse because of it. Now, everyone healthy, we don't miss it as much, but in the event that there is an injury, yeah, we're weaker. I like that he's outside of the league. I'm glad that he's not sold to anyone inside. Let me know in the comments. I don't think we're going to be making that mistake again. And when I say mistake, I say we're not going to let that good of quality leave us at a low price tag. Like what we did with regards to Jesus and Zinchenko, I don't think we were stressed about that. I don't think we were like, oh, we can never do that again. Okay. I think the same thing goes for Sterling. It's not so much, oh, we can't let a player like that go. Maybe it's the timing on when we let these players go because we have to be able to replenish the departures. But players being let go and remaining in the league, I think that will continue to happen. But the value, the evaluation is going to be higher. Has to be. You don't see the same hunger. I mean, you'll have to explain that a little bit because I think the hunger's still there. The hunger to still win is still there, but I think the hunger to have every position almost covered strength for strength, because that's what the club was aspiring to do. Let's all be honest. I know it didn't work out with Calvin Phillips, but when we went out and got Calvin Phillips, that was to have coverage everywhere. It was for us to have two available at striker. It was for us to have two available at left wing, right wing, two available with regards to mix or interchange in the midfield. And it was for us to have two available at DM. Let's be real. I know Calvin Phillips didn't work out, but when you're talking about you don't quite see the same hunger, I see the point. I see the point you're making. Now, maybe is it a learning that we don't need that much? Is it a learning that we have the versatility to maybe keep a slightly smaller squad so that there's less internal disruption in terms of playing time? I don't know. But the hunger thing, we'll see how we play, not even the Community Shield. We'll see how we play in that game versus Chelsea. KDB looks like he's had enough. Edison, last year, you can't say that. He's coming off injury. I think he was just being a little more calculated, a little more reserved. What I saw in Euros made me extremely happy with his recovery. But we'll have this convo Game 1 versus Chelsea. And again, you're also judging what you're seeing kind of preseason, but not everyone's back. That's the scary thing. Not everyone's back. Nam in the building goes, Vader, Vader, would you take as an Alvarez replacement? Nah, because he's not gonna be there to be able to do to be in that 9. And that 9, I know we've been spoiled with how Pep has been able to do the false 9, but we can't rely on that. I was thinking about this the other night. Remember how frustrated we were when we were doing the false 9? So many like crosses, so many trying to pass it into the net, nothing really direct, nothing aerial. False 9 is good in spurts, but if we have to do anything as a replacement for Holland, I don't think it works well, in my opinion now. Blue Heart, for 4 seasons, we've had incredible hunger and passion to go again. It will be a big test, but if anyone can, Pep and the current squad. I agree. And I think Pep with the signing, Savio in particular, Doku even last year, these are players, again, this is going to sound crazy. Crazy. But when you have, and we all know this, okay? We've experienced this in life. When you've joined a team that had more success prior to you, and when they talk amongst themselves or when they're like talking about past glory, that becomes motivation. That like the players that don't have that, or the players that didn't quite get that playing time to be a part of it, they're driven. So you've got Doku driven, you got Savio driven, right? You've got Kovacic and you've got Nunez that have come to the club. We're going to see what happens with regards to, even with regards to Oscar Bob, O'Reilly. Like these are players that have come to the club but haven't had that level of success. So I think the being driven, Edison, the hunger, I think it's still going to be there. And Pep, like Blue Heart said, Pep is the master at getting the best out of the players. I think Savio, Bob are going to give us enough of something different to keep us up there and in the races. Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to be showing their value tremendously. I wouldn't be surprised if you get those early mentions about the club kind of like re-upping or adjusting subcontracts for some of these players. The whole striker role is dying out. We're down. The whole striker role it's not dying in terms of world football. Nah. And if it is, and Pep recognizes that, he's going to bring it back to some degree, because if many are moving away from a striker, guess what Pep does? Pep now brings it back. Let's bring it back. It's like fashion. Let's bring back the bell bottoms. Let's bring back the baggy clothes. He's going to bring that back and make it work again. Now, I know I ran through on the clock. I went through this one in particular. Let me know in the comments if you disagree, if you like the philosophy that City have with regards to not holding any player hostage. I think it's absolutely brilliant from a player standpoint as well as from an academy standpoint. I think what we have to look forward to for this upcoming season will be, I think it's going to be managing the health. Managing the health of these players is going to be key. 2 extra games in Champions League. I've said this from the jump. I want the Carabao back. I want that trophy back. I want that Carabao Cup back. Am I greedy for it? I don't think I would be greedy for it, because many fans want to say that's the most insignificant trophy. But I want it. So that's what I'm aspiring to. Is it because selfishly I might be over in the UK around February? Maybe, but I want that. Let me go to the last comment from Blue Heart. He goes, Vader, do you think we might get a big surprise, big signing? I keep getting a feeling we may have a juggernaut coming in. Blue Heart, I wish I shared that. Blue Heart, I wish I shared that feeling with you, man. I don't think we do. I think we're going to hold this money. I think we're going to be holding on to this until next transfer window, and next summer, with the potential exits of a KDB and Bernardo Silva. I think that's when it happens. So we're going to make do, and we're going to encourage our players. We're going to be the fan base that we're going to remain and continue to be the only fan base that are able to inspire players to go for a three-peat, a four-peat, and a five-peat, God willing. Now, if you haven't subscribed, and if you're tuning in, this was recommended to you, or you happen to be joining late, subscribe, hit that like button. The likes, the comments have been great. Even if you're catching this, listen, I want to get your point of view. I also want to get your feedback on what you may want to see with regards to the show. I think I'm going to do my best to also not this week, next week. No, hold on. Let me get my calendar up. So next week I'm going to be doing a little something special with some guest rivals, some one-on-one, some combos, nothing wild, but it's going to be a nice opportunity for you to hear from the other side. I'm going to be doing that next week. I'll keep you posted. Make sure you subscribe, notifications. But I got that going on next week, and I'm going to bring back Why Always Me, tackle several topics within that. And I'm also going to have CIA. That's going to be kicking off on Sunday. I'm just working on behind the scenes, making sure I got that roster set right. Blue Heart, I like the Carabao because it's an early trophy boost. Fingers crossed for a big signing. Yeah, I'm with you. Now, if we have a big signing, Blue Heart, I'm with you. I'm for it. Let's go. But maybe it's me just managing expectations. I think we move kind of light. Last summer, we Kovacic, Nunez, Doku, like this year so far, Savio. We're due for the Rodri, and we're due for the striker, or maybe attacking mid, somewhere along those lines. 8/6 is definitely what we need. But I don't know. We might not do anything striker replacement. Listen, everyone, appreciate the support. Appreciate you being a part of the show, sharing your comments. I'm going to tackle why City face their toughest title defense. I think that's going to be great as we go into it. And you know what? Maybe I'll also break down why it's going to be so difficult from a psychological standpoint, because these players are not robots. There's no AI. All right. They've got emotions. They got feelings. Edison in the comments talking about he doesn't quite see the hunger. Where will the hunger be there for the majority of the squad after winning 4 in a row? But I'll talk about that. I'll talk about this. We still got that looming gray cloud of the 115 over our heads, as well as the additional, the additional 22 violations with regards to late starts. Late starts to kickoff and at halftime. We got that to deal with. And we'll see whether the league changes anything with regards to the Prem handbook, because from what I understand, if there's any adjustments within the Prem handbook, that might give a glimpse as to how successful we were with how we sued the league. All right. But VatorgamesTV 115, one question, 15 minutes, me flowing, interacting with you guys. Obviously, it's taken us to this point within the show. I'm going to do my best to also add timestamps as we go along, because I know that that's enjoyed as well. But appreciation as always. Bless, love, good looking out. Blue Heart goes, let's start early and get the money back. I hear it. All right, bless. I'm out of here. Peace.